just getting my browser started up so I can be on the same page as everybody else.
Thank you very much, Donald. Okay, so how do you want to do this? Read the discussion questions and then we can discuss.
So first, what do you guys think of Patagonia? Like, have you heard of Patagonia before reading the study?
I hadn't,
Yeah.
but
Dom?
I understand Donald has a coat.
Yeah,
So
so I
he
have one of their
knows.
coats.
It was the
So
first time for me.
it's an interesting company. It's an interesting philosophy. Where I'm from originally. So I've been in Rex for about 4.5 years, but before that I lived just north of Ventura, so just north of where Patagonia started. So it's an interesting place and an interesting thing.
Yeah,
But
because the one thing that I noted about them is they're very expensive. But
oh yeah,
after reading the articles, I understand why, and understand as well from Donald the quality of their brand is very, very tops.
it's very good. I mean, that lends itself well to the case. What was the
Yeah.
CEO's, they want to be environmental stewards, right? They want to be very good
Mhm.
environmental stewards.
Yes.
And when you have that goal in mind, the not the off, but the side consequence of that is that your cost of your product is going to be higher. I mean,
Yeah.
look at organic products. You
Yeah,
put a thing of organic, nuts next to regular nuts, they're going to be more expensive than the other one because it just costs more.
exactly.
There's more. The dirty little secret is there's more waste, but it's because there's a lot more wasted because when you do things organically or you do things like that, there's just a lot that's thrown away or just discarded to use somewhere else because of the manufacturing process to make it that way. So it's an interesting philosophy, and they've done very well. They fetch a high price tag, and people pay for it because they believe in either the quality of the product or they believe in the philosophy of the company or both.
Mhm.
They've got a great product. I can't bring myself to spend that much money on
Yeah.
maybe for Christmas I'll ask for something like that, but I'm a Costco guy. I'll go buy my jackets at Costco. If Costco happens to have a Patagonia there, then I'll buy it. But
Yeah.
anyways,
But the jacket that Donald has lasted him 8 years. So how many jackets were you willing to go
I
buy
know.
at Costco in the 8 years?
Well, I have one that's lasted me 4 years, so it's going pretty good. I actually, another company that I buy frequently is Columbia, and
Yep.
their stuff is bulletproof. I have a jacket that's probably 12 years old that
Mm.
I have from them. So, but it cost a lot of money. I mean, it was probably
Yeah,
close to $200. It was very expensive.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
do
I also
pay.
have a Columbia, but they have like a reflection thing inside of the coat, but
Mhm.
it wears off after a few. Well, yeah, I've had it now for 10 years.
Yeah,
So it wears off after like 10 years, but
yeah. And I have boots from Columbia. Those are my winter boots, and they have that kind of lining inside, and they'll
Yeah.
probably last me at least another 2 seasons. So they'll last 6 seasons, and I paid a lot of money. So there's that quality aspect. So Patagonia is, environmental stewards,
Mhm.
high quality. That was the other
Yes.
thing. You can be an environmental steward and have a terrible product.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So they're willing to bite the bullet and put the two together. There's very few companies out there, if you think about it, that really, kind of put their money where their mouth is and say, hey, we're really going to hold to this. And
Yep.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what I picked up about them is that they do put the money. They put the money where the mouth is. Yeah. Does
It's
it
a
make
funny
sense?
phrase. Yes, I know.
It is.
Yeah. Because as you said, they're not scared to pay triple or double of the amount just to make sure that they work on their processes and they produce top quality.
And as I've gotten older, I mean, you both are very young, but as I've gotten older, I have found that it's a philosophy that one of my old bosses had. She said, it's better to pay for quality up front than to pay for an
Mm.
inferior product twice or three times. You know, quality
Yeah.
costs a lot up front, but you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's the Costco thing, you know. But I'm lured in by Costco. I gotta go and I gotta get it, man.
Yeah, my husband is like that. My husband is like that. I'm the Costco kind of person, you know, but my husband always tries to sit me down and
Yeah,
explain that concept. Rather spend money to get something quality than you don't have to, you know, next year be buying again.
exactly.
Oh, there's Marco.
Hello,
Marco, how are you
hello.
doing?
I'm fine. Sorry, I am just walking, but I am listening.
No, you're fine.
You're good. Yeah, when I was running my dad's painting company, one thing we noticed a lot was people would go and pay someone like $1,500 to paint their whole house. And one, that doesn't even cover about the cost of paint. You get these terrible paint jobs,
Yep.
and then you have to repaint their house in like 6 months.
Yep.
Marco, can we ask you
Yes.
to mute, please? Because we can hear the
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank
That's
much
fine.
better. Yeah.
Marco can be in listen only mode. It almost looks like he's like riding down the city streets or something on a tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Kind of what it sounded like.
I'm worried for his safety.
I think you are talking about something. What is the question? Maybe I would say something a little
Oh,
quick.
awesome.
We were just discussing in general kind of the Patagonia's philosophy of being environmental stewards and creating a high quality product, but not being afraid to charge that high price tag for that product. You know, and have we had experience with that before?
I actually may share something really quick because this is probably the third time I'm starting a business. Right now, I am in the middle of running a film business, which is a great opportunity. I have no idea where the money came from, but I am in the middle of it right now. And it is like the person who have, I mean, the people who have more experience than me, they kind of try to buy products with less quality to get the higher profit. While my wife recommends to get the best products to get profits. Maybe the margin is not that high, but at least we will create loyalty from customers.
Yep.
Something that I was afraid before is, for example, when I opened a place, kind of a restaurant, but my big mistake was to open that place that sells food in a place where clothes were selling. So it was a crazy decision. But anyway, I learned from there. While others were charging good money for the food they were producing, I wasn't afraid of charging people of that money. Eventually, what I learned from others is that they actually, and they told me, they made me understand, is that I have to charge because of the purpose of the business is to make money. And obviously, you don't abuse people. I mean, you just try to charge what is fair, try to be as competitive as you can, but you have to also focus on who you are competing with. For example, in the case when I opened the restaurant, my competition were not big restaurants, just restaurants like the one I had. Like in this moment, my competitions are not supermarkets, are not malls, but are stores like the one I have. So, and I try to put products that are different, something that may call the attention, something that the others don't have. But right now I am also selling fruits and vegetables. What I am learning to do is to offer the best prices, but also try to get the best margins and offer the best products. So that's what I can say so far. What I am doing now.
That's awesome. So, Marco, where are you at?
right now my job is helping me to give funds to my business. It's working. I am happy that it's working.
Excellent. All right, so let's continue. I don't want to derail anymore. So let's keep it going.
Okay. Oh, one of the questions, or one of the discussion questions that we have here, it says, if you were charged with the responsibility to open one of the Patagonia's new surf shops, what would you emphasize about the company to applicants to convince them that Patagonia is a satisfying place to work? What would you put out there?
So I
Different.
just
ahead,
from like
Thomas.
my personal view of things,
Mhm.
I'd want to talk about the like the high quality of the products that they'll be selling. Because as an employee, thinking about what I'm selling to people, it's a lot more enjoyable selling them something you can stand behind rather than, oh no, this is just some decent coat, but not a great coat. You're just, I feel like you're more driven when you actually believe in the product. So for me, if I was talking to someone like myself that would be like doing some sort of sales on something, because I mean that's what I've been doing for like the last 10 years now. I'd want to bring up that it's high quality.
Yeah, that's a good point. For me, if I was bringing folks in, especially the surf shop or whatnot, is that the company as a whole is consistent about its philosophies, meaning that if the company says something, they're going to do it. I've worked for a lot of companies where they'll say something and not do it.
Yep.
And it's very discouraging. You're like, well, I came to this company specifically because you said you were going to do something and now we're not doing it, or things have happened, and they'll come up with some excuse and it's a perfectly valid excuse. But at the end of the day, Patagonia, to me, based on what I've read and kind of my experience with them, is the kind of company, that's the way I would sell to someone. We're very consistent and we back up what we say. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. If we say at the end of the year, you'll get a 10% bonus because you do this, at the end of the year, we're not going to change our minds or do something different. It's a company that is very consistent in their philosophies. I think that's a good selling point for an employee, because money only goes so far. If you're working for a company that's consistently very frustrating, you don't want to be there anymore.
No.
Yeah. I think as well, if you put out there that Patagonia does all that they can to give back to the earth, they take care of the environments, they ensure that their processes does not add on to the catastrophes that are currently being recognized through all these processes that clothing companies go through. So as well, just maybe reflecting on the amounts of money that were donated, or the programs that they're involved in, and the initiatives they have put, or they have in place, and just highlighting the good that they've done, because a lot of people are attracted to that and want to be in a company where they feel that it does good, or be associated with a company that does good.
Yeah. And to go alongside that, not only is their philosophy environmental stewardship, but I think it has to do with human stewardship as well, meaning they don't take advantage of those who are in disadvantaged situations. They don't go and say, we're going to charge $150 for this jacket, but we're going to pay some child in a third world country $5 to make it. So that way we can make an obscene amount of money. So that's, I think, another part of their philosophy, which is we're going to take care of the earth, but we're also going to look after the folks that are making our product, and we're not going to take advantage of the situation and get it for as cheap as we can. My wife owns a business and they manufacture some clothing items. She actually has them manufactured. We try as hard as we possibly can to make sure that we know who's making the items, that, you know, what's the process involved in making the items and things like that. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get items made in an not only environmentally stewardship way, but in a humanly stewardship way, that you're not taking advantage of folks because of the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something really hard to do with, especially manufacturing of clothes. So my sisters and I, we opened up just a small online store. But to get some of the stuff manufactured was the cheapest place to do it with Pakistan, which their prices were great. But then I started asking the people like about who they have working for them and stuff. And they're like, well, here, it's legal to start working when you're 12. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't care if I can get things for crazy cheap from you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. You have to ask the question. And my wife went through this conundrum years ago. Are we willing to pay less so we can charge less? Or are we willing to pay more and just charge more and let people know we're charging more because the process in which we manufacture this, and that same philosophy at Patagonia is we charge more because it literally costs us more to do it in a way that they feel they're doing the right thing.
Yep.
And people are I think sometimes, I know for myself, I don't want to give a blanket statement to everybody here, but I know for myself, we kind of discount what people are willing to pay for. We always think that I always think that people are only wanting to pay the least amount. Well, that's not true. They want something of value. And sometimes they get something of value for cheap and sometimes they don't, but they are willing to pay more. And I know me personally, sometimes I find myself in that logic loop, or when people are just cheap, they just don't want to pay money. But that's not true.
No, it's not. It's true for a good percentage of the population, though.
About 90% of the people at Walmart.
Oh yes, yes. Then you go down to Browlams and you're like, okay, these are the other people.
Yeah, Brolams and Albertsons. That's where everybody else shops. Anyway, that's a Rexburg thing. Anyways, I derailed it again. Sorry.
Yeah, but this also shows that there is a market out there. There are people, like you said, that are willing to spend money if you're putting something good on the table. And it's exactly what Marco was talking about, where people were asking him, you know, why don't you charge more? Why are you scared? And that's what I picked up about Patagonia. They're not scared to charge because they're so confident in their process and they know that what they're doing is right and they feel good about it. And they're so unapologetic for their prices and their product. Not at all.
They have their target market figured out.
Yeah. And they're confident.
Yeah, they're confident. They're not afraid of losing business from keeping prices.
But they also back it up because Donald, you can attest it. You've had an article from them that you bought that has lasted this long. So if you had bought that and it only lasted like 6 months, would you think that they had a great, system or product? No,
I'd never buy anything from them again.
Exactly. That's why they're confident. They're confident because I think their quality control is at a level that most manufacturers aren't at.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed as well that the amount of research and the amount of time that goes into their product. So they're not just happy with whatever item that comes out. They continuously looking at improving and making it better. And hence they stay at the top of their game. Okay. And people like that. People like knowing that, you're constantly innovative, you're looking at new ways of doing things, and hence they will support you.
I think Marco, you had something.
You say something? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Oh, we lost you, Marco. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Marco.
We can't hear you.
That's okay.
Okay, so now the second part of the question says, what steps could you take to make sure that potential recruits would be passionate about the company and its courses?
I think teaching about the history of the company.
Yeah.
One, especially doing that like in the interview process before you hire them, you can see which ones take a higher interest in the information. So
Yeah.
one, they get to learn about the company, but two, you kind of get to observe them. Because I mean, if it's something that you go over the history of things and they're just kind of lackadaisical about going through it, and oh, this is just another part of the interview process, I wouldn't say that really shows passion towards the company. But if you get another person that comes in and they're liking the information and they have questions about it, then to me that would show someone that's more passionate about the company because they're interested enough to take questions about it.
Mhm.
Also, they need to be very selective about their recruits.
Yes.
You know, don't just take the first batch of 5 that come in the door because you're desperate. You know, I don't think Patagonia's philosophy has ever been about desperation. I think they're willing to wait it out. They're willing to wait for the right time, the right moment, the right person, the right product. So I think their hiring managers are probably taught that patience is the key. The right
Oh,
person
yeah.
right person will come in the door that is going to buy into the philosophy and really be, you know, to use a, you know, term, that they're going to drink the Kool-Aid. You know, they're going to be in it.
Yeah, I mean, having patience as a company is a huge thing. So I just got done interviewing with a company and it was 6 different interviews and a presentation, but it was 100 people and only one person could get hired.
Yep.
So it makes sense that there were so many interviews and so much going through it.
Mm.
I mean, it's terrifying as an employee aspect, though. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in both situations where I'm desperate to hire, and then I've been in situations where like I got all the time in the world. I'm going to wait for the right person.
Oh yeah.
And being desperate usually yields the wrong recruit. So,
Oh, I'd say all the time it does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we lose teachers midway through the season and we'd have to replace them.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
And we can hear you. Yes.
Uh, it is probably one of the situations that happened with me like 2 days ago. We are looking for a person to in the place because we started with a small grocery store, but we are now selling vegetables and we are now selling fruits. So the person who was working before, she has experience, but not good manners with the customers. So we tried to interview. We really need someone, but finally we couldn't agree on the aspect that actually she needed to change her way. So we decided to go for an inexperienced guy, but willing to learn. So what I am trying to do right now is try to adapt what we are discussing to my reality. I hope it helps in some way.
Yeah.
So do we want to move on to the next one? What the let my people surf philosophy is? What
Before
yeah,
we
go for it.
move on, yeah, because I was thinking, would it make a difference with the recruits if you teach them or you make aware of like environmental dangers there may be, and why Patagonia was going the way they're going. So you understand why they have the products they have, why they've worked so hard to improve them, to make them better. Do you think that would, in one way or the other, interest the recruits and help them in being loyal to the company and maybe staying longer with you?
I think so.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So now the next one is, are there any drawbacks to those sorts of steps? Okay, this is part of what we just answered, but now we can move to the next one. It says, what is it exactly about the let my people serve philosophy that would be so satisfying? If you are running one of the new surf shops, would anything concern you about that philosophy?
So what is the let my people surf philosophy that Patagonia has?
It's let the people work, allow for the flexi time, allow for them to work whenever they want to work. They can wear whatever they want to wear to work. There's nothing specific, as long as deadlines are met.
Right.
Okay, so people are free to do, but they must deliver.
It's a scary philosophy. I've worked
It
in
is.
organizations. I've worked in organizations where it's very rigid. You be here and don't be a minute late, and this and that and that and that and that. And then I've worked for loosey goosey ones where show up when you can and when you want, and you can come in whatever time, leave whatever time, as long as you are producing the results that we're looking for. We're never going to question it, and that has been. So my philosophy is very close to the let my people serve philosophy. So I manage a department here on campus, and I have several employees, and they came from other departments but that were very rigid. And so when we first kind of came together as a department, I would get requests like, "Oh, I need to leave 15 minutes early," or I'm sorry, I was a half hour late. And we don't work in an environment where we're together or where there's like a daily grind of we have to get these things done in this order and everything else. And so it took almost a year for the philosophy to take hold. I said, look, at the end of the day, you're getting paid a salary. You get paid for that day, that 8 hours. You're not getting paid by the hour. And if the work is getting done at the end of the day, that's all I really care about. And if it's getting done right. So if people aren't complaining and you're getting the job done, if you have to leave a half hour early because you have a doctor's appointment or you need to go pick up your child from school or these other things, it's okay, because it's what my dad used to always say, sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you. So that's the let my people serve philosophy, is sometimes you put in a 4-hour day, you get 8 hours worth of work. Sometimes you put in a 16-hour day to get 8 hours worth of work. It's that sometimes the bear eats you, sometimes you eat the bear philosophy. And that's the let my people surf. And it takes a while to kick in, and it's scary too. When you first start that philosophy, you're like, do I and it goes back to, I don't know if you've had any kind of other organizational or management training classes. They'll go into detail about the philosophies that employers have about employees. And there's basically two general philosophies. One, that the employee is trying to rip off the company, or two, that the employee is altruistic, meaning that they are there to do a good job because they feel that's what they need to do. And so that's the let my people serve philosophy, is we believe that the employees are going to do the right thing and they're going to get the work done, and we don't have to micromanage them. But I think most of us have worked for organizations where that's not the case. They don't trust the employee and they think the employee is trying to rip them off or steal something from them or take advantage of the company in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Sure. So then it's very important to have the right recruits come into your company where you will trust that they will not take advantage of your goodness, but actually deliver.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yep. It's a fun environment to work in where it's more of the let my people serve philosophy if it's ran correctly, because it can just go down quickly if it's not if you're not measuring that success. You know, that was the next part of it. How do you measure success in
Yes,
that
how
type
do
of
you
an
measure?
environment? Well, you have definite what we call metrics or measurements that say if you're getting this done, that's a success, or if we're reaching this target, that's a success, or other things that you can measure. As long as the company has things that they can measure, it's pretty easy to implement that type of philosophy. And you'll learn which employees are taking advantage of the company really quick. It's like when COVID first hit at BYUI, we've never had the opportunity to work remotely. That's never been on the table. No, before COVID, it was you come into the office, doesn't matter what your job is, you come into the office. COVID hit, everybody had to work remotely. Well, almost 2 years now, my department is still working remotely. We have authorization to continue working remotely because we've done better working remotely. And so that's, before it was more of a, we don't trust you to work remotely, but now it's, well, maybe you can, maybe we can let them surf, you know, maybe we can let them, you know, be a little bit more flexible, because my department, we do work with vendors all over the world. And one of our big vendors is in India. And so there's times where we have really early morning meetings or really late meetings with that vendor, and having to have a rigid structure of being there from 8 in the morning till 5 at night doesn't really work. So
What
it's
department
nice.
is it that you run?
So I'm in IT. We're the largest single department on campus. We have like 400 employees, but my department is the product and service management department. So we manage all of the large enterprise systems on campus. So Workday, Canvas, you know, one of my employees, he makes sure that Canvas works and is being governed properly, and that the vendors holding their, you know, their agreements. So
yeah. So do you know what happened to the internet a couple of semesters ago? It was like down for like 3 days.
I can't comment.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
All we can say is that it was an incident. That's all.
Ah, okay.
Internally, we know what it was. I can tell you it was not an internet outage. So
Okay. Well, I figured that.
you can, I'll use a fancy word. You can extrapolate what you want from that comment. I can't say anything more. So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think we covered all the questions, because the last one was the one of, you know, how will you measure? How will you measure success? And, you know, Brother Plummer talked about, you know, having matrices, having certain targets to be reached, and holding people accountable as well.
Yeah. So something that I found interesting. So I worked as a cashier for a grocery store here for like 6 months right after my mission. And within 3 weeks, they gave me the task of improving the efficiency of all the other cashiers. And literally, the only thing I had to do was print out how everybody was doing it and post it right above the time clock. And them just seeing where their numbers were made everybody's numbers improve, just because they finally knew where they were actually at. So they tried harder. So I mean, like Brother Plummer was saying, you have to measure it, because if not, you have nothing to go by. So I thought it was funny that just that small measurement and putting a piece of paper on the wall, I didn't have to do anything else, and my boss thought I was amazing.
Which grocery store was that?
It was for a Safeway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like it took about 3 weeks for us to start seeing huge number improvements. So like a month and a half after starting, they had me in a program for like their management training to become a store manager. That was until I found out they get paid like $17 an hour. And, and I'm like, yeah, that's not quite worth it for what you got to do.
No. That you stumbled on one thing that humans like competition. we do.
Yes. Even
So-
if they say they don't, there's
They
still
do.
some competitiveness.
Yeah, there is. Or it's not even maybe competition. They don't want to be the ones that are at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to be at top, but I definitely don't want to be at the bottom.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. Like, I'm very competitive with myself as well. So even if I can just see like my old numbers compared to where my numbers are on track to, it's gonna make me work harder to try to beat my old self.
Yep.
So I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, you can see everybody's in the group, which is kind of cool.
But I like what you just highlighted, that communication. This is, you just put it out there and it communicated a lot of information. And once information is out there, people either learn from it or they will choose, to go a different direction.
Yeah.
But now, with your communication of the stats, of the direction, it prompted improvement from the individuals. And I think that was also highlighted in the reading, where they said that the communication within Patagonia is very open. They've got an
So that-
open policy, open
Yeah.
office policy, something like that, in which everybody knows what's going on. The finances, they all know what's going on. And I think that's very important when people are working and they understand what is going on. They know, if I do this, this is what's going to happen. And nothing is hidden from them, because once they find out that you lied to them or you didn't disclose everything, that's where you lose their loyalty.
Yep. I worked for an organization that was very open, like Patagonia, and they're wildly successful. It was a fun company to work for. And our monthly meetings with our CEO was all employees. And part of the discussion was of the financial numbers, all of them, not just like, oh, here's a overview. This was the details, and it outlined everybody, all of the numbers within the company. And it was quite refreshing, because we knew exactly where the company stood. There was no question, hey, the company's doing pretty well right now, but if we follow this trend, it may go down from there. So it was a very open and transparent type of organization, much like what Patagonia seems to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Marco,
It looks like Marco transported himself to the Great White North.
I'm very excited, and I'm very happy with everything that is going on. Actually, I am doing all the things that I was planning to do. And based on this class, I can say that you need to feel, what is the word? You need to feel certain. You need to be sure about what you are selling, so people will buy it. I mean, whatever. I mean, right now I am working in an institute. I am teaching English. Somehow I think I'm doing well, because at some point students love my classes, so it's okay. So, and I am learning a lot there about treating people, about being respectful, about helping others, and about helping others to achieve their goals. So in a way, like I am like in 3 businesses now. I am teaching English at some times. I am selling fruits in some other times, and I am selling groceries in some other times. So I am learning a lot. It might be for something. And I didn't imagine myself in a situation like this. I mean, like in a business growing with expectation. I mean, in this position, I've never thought myself in a position like this.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard work. It is a lot of work. I am sleeping like 3 to 4 hours. It's like my first days in Pathway and my first days before getting my first certificates. I thought those days were over, but no, they are not. So, listening to you guys discussing about these things that we read, and it is so real, you know. I mean, it doesn't matter how big or small the business is. It is current what we are discussing. No, it is real. So, but
So,
one
so
thing that
before
I
we
can
go ahead.
collect from this is that I need to trust on the products I sell. Trust on the products I sell enough to charge what is fair, what it's going to create profits, the purpose of the business.
Yep. So before we close out, are there any questions that you have for me about anything class-wise or anything else? I know we only have about a week and a half left. I can say you should start getting going on your final projects sooner than later. That would be my advice.
This is gonna sound like a dumb question. What is the final?
So it is, if you look at module, I opened up module 14 early. So